RTD Live Talk, Detroit's #1 YouTube talk show. Excited to connect midweek Wednesday. FOMC minutes is out. Oh, they're going to continue to press forward and tightening into a recession. Let's talk about this. As always, for those that might be new to the community, welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. Subject matter, feel free to throw out some topics. We definitely going to touch on as many as we can. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on whatever else is, happening in your world. So feel free to let me know via chat. Then when the phone lines open up, 313-462-0027 is the number to call and let your voice be heard. All right, so let's dive right in. And as always, for those that are tuning in, definitely to help the algorithms and show that there's people interested in participating and hanging out with us, hit the thumbs up button for me. And that hopefully alert a few more people. And make sure you guys hit the notification bell if you want to make sure you plug in on these live streams. And hopefully you're notified. But if not, we're going to do our best to do it at 4 p.m.-ish every day and keep it moving forward. But, interesting stuff, man. Like, it just seems like just for whatever reason, to keep their credibility going, the monetary overlords of the global monetary structure continues to move forward with the narrative that they're going to actually be able to do something to preserve the purchasing power of the American people, which, of course, at this current moment, we all know it's not possible. So hopefully you guys have all removed as much of your financial future out of this dying currency right over my shoulder here. But anyway, let's jump right in. So we got Stacker NZ checking in. We got, let me see here. We got Ed checking in. We got LBP. We got Tony B. We got Faith checking in. We got Nathaniel checking in. We got Todd, Joel checking in from Texas. Appreciate you, my friend. Chad. We got Michael Slinging Silver from Wyoming checking in. Let me see here. What else we got? Midnight Green. Rod is checking in. It says Canadian citizens should do a bank run. Yeah, so it looks like there are more people calling for the removal of fiat currency from the hands of the unsecured creditors that they've lent their currency to. But as always, an overwhelming majority. Like I did a video, what was it? Couple months ago, or basically a couple months ago, talking about the cash squeeze and how, especially here in the U.S., a lot of the small retail banks are already closed down. And so basically what's happening in Canada is pretty much a front run type of ordeal to what's possibly in the future for here in the U.S. And they were basically just ahead of the curve, shutting down, a lot of the commercial banks and whatnot, consolidating the exit points for people to actually run down to create chaos in the form of a bank run. But, for those that got out earlier, the better. You don't want to be the last one to leave at the same time the building's coming down. So that's why it's good to pay attention, stay ahead of the game as best you can. And that definitely comes with continue to keep your eyes on what's happening around us and the narratives that this unfolding. So, but unfortunately, more people have been able to withdraw. But as narrative picks up of running to the bank, more people won't be able to get any type of cash. And on top of that, it's people with substantial amount of savings in the banks. They don't have cash on hand anyway. So it's going to take a couple days to order it. And once the Central Bank of Canada realizes that more people are starting to request large amounts of cash, they're going to change the rules of the game and basically make it so that people can't withdraw in any type of a timely manner to kind of kick the can down the road, so they don't have to go out and start creating additional currency to meet all the obligations. Because mind you, there's more digital versions from the commercial bank lending side than there actually are the digital physical representations, i.e. the Canadian dollar or the Federal Reserve note itself. So the clock is ticking. But anyway, I'm going to keep moving. All right, so let's jump right in. I thought I would just start this off because I talked a lot about, compromised politicians. And so I came across an interesting picture that I thought I would just throw out there for those that care. But what better snapshot of, two individuals that are just sitting there enjoying one another's company, laughing it up, giggling. And I was thinking about, I wonder, since the time this picture was taken, I'm not quite sure when. I would imagine this was probably several years ago, probably before the presidency of, or the, alleged presidency of the Joe Brandon there. But I was thinking, like, I wonder how many lines of communication they've had over the last year plus via emails, talks. Because mind you, we all know that Brandon's a puppet, ultimately speaking, and he's taking orders through Klaus Schwab, who's also a puppet, I believe. And so I just wondered the line of communication that they have, and how they're trying to navigate their agenda on the world for the most part. So thought I would share this just because they're getting a kick out of whatever's in front of them. But your average Joe, I'm sure, wouldn't be laughing if they knew if it was this whatever's being talked about ultimately is planned against them. So thought I would just start off with that for those that care. Anyway, let's keep it moving. So let's jump into just some of the headlines about the FOMC and how they have literally signed what I would consider the it's just not to be the okay. I just be upfront and be honest. They've pretty much signed the death certificate for the Federal Reserve note in a sense because none of this actually is doesn't make any financial or monetary sense other than the fact that they have to try to pretend as if they have been in control of this all along, but it's becoming comical in a sense. But anyway, so basically the minutes came out from last month and anticipating some of the market reaction. It looks like the market's probably closed in the green, if I'm not mistaken. So there's probably somewhat of a little bit of a rally last couple of minutes, give or take. Gold and silver, to my knowledge, was in the green, and crypto space, not quite sure, but it's getting a lot of attention due to there being some cryptocurrency addresses that were blacklisted from crypto exchanges in the Canadian region. So we're going to touch on that. But real quickly, FOMC minutes showed Fed to rush rate hikes, leaves quantitative tightening details up in the air, which is still kind of vague because they actually made some comments about that as well. But give you an idea what's going on here. Here's just some graphs here that was put together on activity throughout the beginning of this month or whatnot. And one thing I want to jump right into is this next one here, which gives you a better synopsis as to what is likely to happen. And this is, I just thought this was timely because graphics do a better job of explaining based upon trends, because it's always easier to predict the possible future by just looking at the past. And so this is from Steve Matthews. It says there's a 50-year history that the Fed never hikes rates once the Fed funds rate raises or has risen above the 5-year yield. Says that point could come before the end of this current year and suggests that it will be very difficult to continue the narrative of them, quantitative tightening, raising rates. So here we see, just based upon history, if history is in any indicator of future possibilities, just look at over the last 50 years, as mentioned, whenever the 5-year yield peaks in proportion to wherever the federal funds rate is at, they automatically drop rates. So every time it's, here's 1980, bam, 5 years up to 60, 70%, they drop. We got here, they drop. So we see the trajectory of what's happening here amongst all the jawboning by the Federal Reserve as to them being able to tighten monetary conditions in a debt Ponzi-based type of scheme here, but yet all the way down to zero. So we're at zero. And they really think for some reasons that they're going to be able to get the Fed funds rates, even they're talking about, having probably 50%, 50 basis point hikes. They're not going to get this thing up nowhere near the near 2%-ish ballpark by the end of this year before they have to pull the trigger and then probably do what? Go back to zero. And we're already at zero now. So more than likely, there's going to have to be some type of day of reckoning somehow, some way soon, and it's going to be based upon consumer sentiment, i.e. the confidence of what's happening in the real economy. And let me just share with you some things as to what's happening in the real economy, just because you can't make this stuff up. Let me go. This is what's happening in the real economy. It says 2 reasons Americans just dove into credit card debt faster than they have in 22 years. And it's simple. Savings is down and costs of the average goods and services that they need to survive is going up. So it says Americans' credit card balances spiked $52 billion in the last 3 months. Why? Stimmies ran out, savings tapped into future employment as well as income. Basically, very suspect on a lot of people's behalf. So it says inflation is partially responsible, raising the cost of goods, cost of food and gas. And so it goes on to give you some figures, but says the total U.S. household debt is already past 15.8 trillion in the fourth quarter. So that is the ultimate reason to why this can't go on, because if the Federal Reserve talking about tightening their debt structure, that's going to put more of a pinch on the government as well as the global markets, the credit markets, and money markets, all those instruments and financial things that they've created, which means that there's going to be a problem. And so if consumer confidence is down, people are not going to be out spending. And basically, the economy is built upon consumption. So the less consumption, the less activity in the economy. Therefore, the slower things will flow and the greater the chances of a recession. And just to look at the most recent consumer sentiment from Michigan, this is right from their PDF file. It shows, and based upon prior history going all the way back to the 60s, give or take, whenever consumer sentiment is trending down or it drops, we go into the gray bar area, which is what? A recession. So consumer confidence is dwindling. What happens at the bottom of that? Recession. It's dropping, recession. Right on through history, recession. Look at this last one in the great financial crisis. Consumer sentiment coming on down, and what followed within probably 6-7 months, recession. And then the most recent hiccup from 2 years ago, economy came to a halt, recession. And of course, they stimulated themselves out of it. But look where we're at now. Right now, consumer confidence is way lower than it was when people, were forced to stay at home, wasn't allowed to do nothing. And so what's possibly coming in the next 5 or 6 months, i.e. putting us in the summer time frame, a recession. And unlike prior recessions, we're already, as I just mentioned, we're already at zero. And so do you really think they're going to be able to pull off the greatest monetary experiment in human history? No. So I say all that to basically just continue to remind you guys that there's going to be a continuous pinch and cramping down on what you and I really need the most, which are real world resources, i.e. all the things that we need to sustain our livelihoods. And so with that comes the basics: food, shelter, water, energy, you name it. So all those things right now are going to become more expensive. But then their biggest fear is, of course, deflation, because that untended to is deflationary. So as all the markets come crashing down as a response to lack of confidence, lack of the money velocity side of things not slowing down even more, probably the Federal Reserve is going to have to come in with something unimaginable. And then that lays a perfect framework for the CBDC to be rolled out early. And based upon the current trajectory, if things play out the way that it's appearing, with the typical 6 to 7 month delay of a recession occurring, I could see the CBDC emergency announcement November, December of this year, especially heading into the shopping season. And that's what's just going on. That's real talk. So once again, that's just how things play out. It's just the consequences of manipulated markets, as well as, just the wind down of the greatest monetary experiment in human history. And then to show how bad things really are, let's just look at a statement. Let me put this on the screen here. Something that missed a very wealthy individual, his response to the question in regards to inflation and things like that. So here we have Mr. Charlie Munger, and this is on the Michael Saylor's Twitter account. But just for those that may not have a chance to check this out, let me play this so you guys can hear it. And I'll just let you hear it from Mr. Munger's mouth directly. But check this out.
The safe assumption for an investor is that over the next 100 years, the currency is going to zero. That's my working hypothesis.
Wow. Well, that'll be a different type of environment, won't it?
So basically, Charles Munger, because of this current environment we're in, he said democracies come to an end. He brought in how Hitler came into power and all of that stuff like that. And he said the next 100 years. But based upon, the whole, this thing right here, we don't have 100 years left. This is 100 years right here. 8 years right here. And we're already sub-zero in real spending, purchasing power terms. So, just to be realistic, 100% as far as the confidence in his Federal Reserve note here, the full faith and credit of it, we may have, I don't think this is too far doom and gloom, but we may have a year before, people wake up to reality, what's really going on. And that always leads to why it's important to always get your weight up, because getting your weight up is actually getting back into, it's real money, sound money, constitutional money, which is what we were supposed to always be about in the first place until we were hijacked by the private bank central cartel. Anyway, enough of that. But let's move on. I got a couple more stories here, but I'll open the phone lines and let me hear your thoughts. What do you keep an eye on? And we can move from there. But I do want to definitely touch on the conditions in Canada with the financial regulatory bodies shining light on the crypto space and how they're starting to attempt to paint the narrative, as far as talking about, what do they say? A lot of, they say dark wallets or something like that, 2-point-something billion worth of crypto whale wallets that are, fraudulent and all that good stuff like that. But anyway, you know how it goes. As more people find out that there's options out of the system outside of the conventional ways, gold and silver, they're going to definitely shine a very bad light on the crypto space. So that might taint this upcoming executive order that Biden is supposed to be putting out sometime soon. But I'm sure that changed as a response to what Russia is doing with them allowing Bitcoin mining in their country. But even in Russia, the central bank and the government, they're having a little back and forth as to how they're going to allow or not allow decentralized cryptocurrency space, because it's a threat. It's a threat of giving people options like that. So anyway, let's talk. Let's keep it moving, people. Let me check in via chat. As always, highlight at Rethinking a Dollar. We can touch on it. Witcher's Work says you're going to see an inflationary recession. 100%. I was trying to come up with a new term to summarize all that. And I had something like hyper-stagnated depression. Like, that's not even a word, but that just encompasses the craziness. Hyper-stagnated depression. That's the new terminology I'm putting out there. I don't think I've heard it before. You guys let me know if you've heard it. So it says Alchemar. Not sure it says what's an index. Index just basically a measuring tool or metric used to gather data and chart it out so that it makes sense for, interpreting economic conditions would be a good way of putting that. But hyper-stagnated depression is what's going on right now. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Oh, one second. Let me get this. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike. It's low blood pressure from the Rosa Corpus Christi.
LBP. What's going on, my friend?
Mike, look, man, I'm kind of sad, Mike. I'm kind of depressed.
Okay, what's going on?
Look, Mike. The dollar's going to hyperinflate. Us silver gurus, we're going to be filthy rich, but we're going to have nobody to listen to anymore. What are we going to do after?
So with that same concept, the overall environment we're going to be living in will also be different. And so I'm not quite sure how this plays out just because I've never experienced it. So I'll let your imagination and the viewer's imagination run wild with that question.
I just, like we're not going to have, we're all going to know, we're not going to rethink the dollar anymore. We're going to be like, well, we're going to be all bored.
Yeah. So between now and then, we're going to figure out something because the rebuilding process amongst all the chaos will definitely spark human ingenuity to where it's going to be an abundance of opportunity for people to utilize their intellect to, actually, deliver value and help other people out. It's going to be, we're going to have a lot of people that we're going to be able to help out in different forms and facets. So there's going to be work to do for sure.
All right, Mike, I'm looking forward.
For sure, man. Appreciate you calling.
All right, Mike.
Be good.
Bye.
Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? Hello?
Mike, Tony from Oakland. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, TB. What's in your mind, man?
Man, I'm gonna have to rant, man.
Give it to me. Give it to me
sorry.
quick. I want to try to get some more calls in, but give me some summation of your rant within a shorter time frame, if you don't mind.
Okay. What's the number one thing in investing? First rule of investing: avoid big losses.
Mm-hmm.
That triangle you got above your head.
Yeah.
What's holding it up?
What's holding it up? You mean at the
Yeah,
very bottom of the pyramid to my left?
The bottom of the pyramid. That's what's holding it up.
Silver.
First rule of investing: gold, silver.
Yeah.
These are value to downside protection,
Mm-hmm.
risk element.
Right.
I mean, there's risk element in Bitcoin,
Mm-hmm.
and the masses they thirst for truth.
Mm-hmm.
But whoever supplies them with the illusion, that's their master. And whoever supplies them with the illusion that things aren't the way you're looking at, that's
Mm-hmm.
their enemy, and that's the way they treat you.
Yeah.
And gold's not even an investment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just conscious. It's a conscious decision to refrain from investing until the return of honest money system can make the calculations and reset
Very true.
the actual price of what valued things are.
Right.
How much would you give for your gold, Mike?
Right now, there's no fiat currency amount that I would be willing to part ways with it at this current moment, because I can't tell the true nominal price of anything that's real, because everything is artificial. So I don't think I would part ways unless it was a dire emergency and I had to. I'd take a loss, basically. I'm taking a loss no matter what in this current environment.
Right, but we'll consider divesting when the price is right.
When it seems that things are more stabled out and things somewhat make sense, which will be in an environment that, it's not going to be first world status, that's for sure, because housing prices overpriced, stock market overpriced. I need to come down significantly for me to consider, we need to go back to zero, whatever zero looks like, basically.
But Mike, here's the other thing I wanted to mention is I've started looking into these other countries that say that they're having problems, and I started looking into why they're having problems.
Yeah,
and it seems to me like Bitcoin's running. The U.S. is forcing Bitcoin down people's throat, and it is causing havoc, especially in Turkey.
Yeah,
Turkey, they're asking for people's gold. And but Erdogan's like, I'm trying to get Bitcoin out of here, and I don't want to use it. But the U.S. is forcing it, and same way with Ukraine.
Yeah.
Same way with these other countries. El Salvador, I think, is the Cayman Islands. It's going to be the housing for all this stuff.
Yeah.
But no one, if they got to force it down your throat, why would you want it?
Right. I mean, that's a good point. Like they're making it as just the primary and the only option that people can use to, I guess, protect themselves, and that's not true. But why are they selling it that way, as if it's the one and only?
Because the dollar's no good. They did it in the Super Bowl. How many Super Bowl commercials you've seen of cryptocurrencies? and now it's happening in Canada. Trudeau, all these people that you mentioned are WEF fans.
Yeah.
They're all part of the WEF.
Yeah.
And this is, and quiet as it kept, and this is my little circle about what I know. Quiet as this kept, Charles Schwab said you'll own nothing and you'll like it.
Yeah.
You can do that with Bitcoin.
Yeah.
All right, brother.
That's true. Appreciate you, man.
All right.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Once again, we've been sold the preferred method out of the system. Of course, you know what that is. And that's what should make a lot of people skeptical. Do what you may. But once again, in the end, you want to make sure that you're in an environment where you're holding something real that you can feel. Just because if they're trying, here's the craziest part. Like, this is what really lets me know that, that has the tide shifted, or were they just holding back, waiting for the right opportune time to basically get behind this and make it look like it's the next best thing. And this has to do with this statement right here, this headline right here on the screen. Let me put this up here. It says, JP Morgan bets the metaverse is a $1 trillion yearly opportunity as it becomes the first bank to open in a virtual world. Now, that makes no sense whatsoever from a practical viewpoint. But yet, if there's an agenda that's being orchestrated at the top of the power pyramid that I showed yesterday, it's a no-brainer, because the first thought is, I don't want to miss out on this. I want a piece of this action. I want a piece of this trillion. So let me run out and go buy a couple coins with the anticipation that within the next year, I'm going to be able to share in this transition as well by pumping my bags. And so, do what you must. But ultimately, it's going to boil down to, if you're participating in this transition in the form of trying to profit off of this, global great reset agenda, it's going to be a matter of, are you able to get out in time to actually get into the real world to enjoy it? Because there's nothing fun happening in the metaverse like that you can feel, that you can breathe, that you can touch, all the, to actually fully utilize your human senses, smell, touch, taste, was it feel, think, whatever it is. I forgot, can't think off the top of my head. You can't do that in the metaverse, but they're trying to condition you to the fact that you can. And until you're literally plugged in through, Elon Musk's Neuralink, you won't be able to really fully be immersed the way that, they're trying to sell people to do that. So that's just my 2 cents there, but let's have some fun with it as always. Let me see here. Okay. So I want to touch on that statement I made earlier about trying to come up with a new word. I said, we're in an environment, we're in a new environment that resembles a hyper-stagflated depression, which I don't think that word even exists. But once again, at this current time, nothing really makes sense. So I can create words out of thin air and try to give it meaning. And you look back in history, it might be like, damn, that was right on point. So hyper-stagflated depression. Let's look at that. So I saw XRP Currency said you can't have inflation in what do you say? So just this statement here, XRP, it says inflationary depression makes no sense. They are polar opposites, no doubt. But when the world is turned upside down, nothing really makes sense. Let's just walk through this a little bit. So, this plays into a statement that I got last night from Bill Holter, watching Greg Hunter's interview on his Rumble channel, when Bill Holter said that we're going to see the basic definition of stagflation, which is inflation or the continuous spike in prices of the real world things that we need to survive, and then a deflationary continual dropping, or asset price is of all the financial products, as well as the hyper financialized vehicles that have been created over the last 30-40 years, that will ultimately be retracing to the true nature of their intrinsic value as far as what the average Joe can afford. So food, water, shelter go through the roof, because it's the finite amount of that, and it's going to be an infinite amount of currency to try to chase after those goods, meaning sticker prices are going to continue to go up, while all the assets that we've been sold as being the true staples of wealth, your house, your stock portfolios, and that 40-60, split by 40, the bonds, stock flip, as well as, possibly, some rare collectible type things that are not really needed for real world cases, that have been used as just like, ways to store wealth. Once again, if you don't have many people who can afford it, then is it really worth anything? So that is the type of environment that, could happen, where the things we need to survive become unaffordable for the average Joe, while the things we were told to park our future financial retirement into drop down, because, a house is only worth what somebody can afford to pay for it. And if your average Joe is on their knuckles, then is that house really worth what it's listed at right now in a deflationary bubble bursting event? So we're going to have the real world going this way, other world going that way. And that's going to lead to the hyper stagflationary depression, because that's going to be this. It runs the risk of being a very prolonged event all in one. And that's why I keep saying, just it seems like the ideal time frame for all this unwinding, based upon history, it seems to be about 10 years plus, give or take. But yet, once again, we've never experienced this as a 170 nation, ordeal denominated in over 100 plus different fiat currencies. So that's why things can look a little, questionable, to say the least. But that was just my 2 cents on that. Sunny Nicole says inflation is outrageous here in the Midwest. Yeah. And so I think also, like, I always talk about a play on words. So inflation, from a definitive definition standpoint, is usually the expansion of the monetary base. And based upon all the currency units in existence and all the lack of confidence from manufacturers, the PPI, all that stuff like that, even Heineken talking about they're about to raise their beer prices. And I'm thinking, like, I'm not a Heineken fan, so I won't be buying it. So those prices won't stick long because people are just going to choose to, buy something else. But anyway, I think we're going to get to the point where we're going to talk about, the consumer prices and just use that word because, we're going to actually have to be more distinctive with the words we use. Just like I say, all dollars are not created equal. There's a difference between this dollar and this dollar. This year, the world's going to find out that there's a big difference. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is this will go up in purchasing power, and this will continue to go down, meaning it's going to take more units of this, where it's going to take less of this throughout time. So it's going to be like the changing of the guard. So, but yet, one's a Federal Reserve note, the other one's a dollar. Everybody ultimately thinks that just the green paper is all that there is, but they're going to find out differently this year. Even Charlie Munger thinks so. Anyway, let's keep it moving. And I am missing calls. Forgive me. Let me see. I see all this foreign spam that I have to make sure I take care of. Todd says 170 national, international conspiracy control demolition, the current economy in transition into the new world. Yeah, that is what it boils down to. And so far, they're on course to somehow, some way, pull us off. And once again, I hate to say it, but this is biblical in nature. So these things have to occur to get us where we have to go. That's why it's never been more important to be dialed in with the spiritual element of yourself. Social credit score going to make things harder to get to, regardless if you have currency. Cool in. Very true. And so we see that. I saw an article talking about China has been selling more of their facial recognition software around the world to other nations. So all that stuff is factored in. Hello, caller. Where are you calling from?
Hello, Mike. This is Diwarikum Staka NZ calling you from the land of the long white clouds. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, my friend. The land of the long white clouds. Clarify that for me, just real quick.
No, I mean it's the term which we use here in New Zealand.
New Zealand.
Okay. Yeah, to just
appreciate you. I wasn't too familiar with that label there, but anyway, what's on your mind, man? Give me the word on the ground there. What's happening?
Let me touch on your crypto, or let me touch on your money or the US dollar.
Mm-hmm.
With regards to crypto, I do agree with you this time around that it is a trap. And if you look at the words of Klaus Schwab,
mm-hmm.
he said that there is that we should pay sufficient attention to a threatening scenario whereby what's it called? There will be an event where there will be disturbance that will make this coronavirus the poison 19 look like a small event.
Right.
So what I believe is that there will be like a cyber attack which will come in and wipe out probably all the whole data inside, let me say, the banking system, let me say the crypto. So there's going to be a strange event, because if Klaus Schwab has said it, so they will introduce like some form of a poison that will go about, wiping out data, starting from the crypto, from the banks. So, I mean, it is really going to be a serious issue, if you don't have your precious metals or your gold, silver, because these are God money, the Almighty Allah said you need to trade by dinar and dirham, meaning gold and silver.
Yeah.
So the toilet paper dollar, the US dollar, New Zealand dollars, all these things are going to vanish.
Yeah.
Because I think what they are trying to introduce is their one world government. Because when I made a video on my channel, I did advise people that you will see once they introduce this cyber attack and they transition people to CBDC, because that is the only way that they can be able to transition people from your normal paper fiat money to the CBDC currency, because they want to make it that if you're coming from America to New Zealand or coming from New Zealand to Spain or to London, that you'll be able to actually spend that CBDC without the intermediary of the money changer. So all this Forex changing from US dollar to New Zealand dollars to the British pounds, it will disappear, it will vanish. So that is one of the things that they are also trying to get on board. That's the new world order. So everything is just one world currency. So it is going to be a trying times. It is not easy, it is scary.
Right.
So that is my take on the currency for the US dollar for the future. Man.
Appreciate your calls. Thanks for calling in. And while you were talking, I pulled up the Cyber Polygon as the name of their exercise. And it looks like the next scheduled drill is for July 8th, 2022. So we got a couple months before their next exercise, and we'll see, how this all plays out. But definitely, and it's unfortunate you said that, if Charles Schwab said it, it's going to be type of thing, because that's how the world has bought into the fact that this guy is he's the front person for whoever's speaking through him. And so that makes it look like he's in charge of all this. And it's like, I don't want to give him that much credit, but he did do the video saying that it's going to, the coronavirus is going to pale in comparison to what's coming. I'm like, damn, okay, so we'll see. But yeah, man, appreciate your call, man.
Yeah.
All right,
anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate, man. These guys, they can open up out of their mouth and speak what's coming, and cats is literally sitting like, okay, that's obviously part of their plan at some point. And then, just as the caller just mentioned, not knowing how wide of a scope that cyber event will be, but I'm thinking it's not, I don't see it knocking down the internet, but I do see it definitely hindering the plans of the crypto exchanges, the banking structure, as well as probably government structure. I mean, it could get bad. So just think about that. If crypto exchanges go down, that means that in and exit points back in the fiat from the crypto space is going to be hindered. That means you're going to be, stuck with cryptos. I mean, the world would have to either accept it or not. Then the banks themselves, we know that, the greatest threat to government structures are actually the pensions. And of course, to the actual financial sector itself is the retirements that's not there anymore, in my opinion. So it's like, that's what they need to make sure is not there. So they come up with an excuse as to why the CBDC will be necessary and everything that comes with that. So, but anyway, all right, maybe about the 38-minute mark, I have to get ready to pull back. But for those that are tuned in, man, I kind of laid out a framework where this tightening into recession it spells disaster, but that's what they want to do. That's the only option, and it's not going to be pretty whatsoever. But you knew that ahead of time. So hopefully, you realize the importance of getting plugged into real world things and not solely dependent upon things that are only in ones and zeros on a computer code or a ledger. And so this is the fight, the fight to obtain real resources given to us by our creator himself. So, what primarily that, consists of from a financial standpoint, but also you're going to need calories, you're going to need water. So yeah, anyway, but not taking any more calls. Get ready to dial back. Appreciate you guys for plugging in. If you got any value from anything said amongst the callers or any other rants, hit that thumbs up button. Make sure you hit the bell notification so you can be notified. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe. And also I want to encourage you, if you enjoy hanging out in the community, invite a friend. Figure out a way to share a video so more people can find out, because that's the only way we can reach more people is by you, the community, reaching out and helping people, just basically give them an option to realize there's other information out there other than the lies they've been told. So other than that, be blessed, be safe, and I will see you guys on the flip side. Peace. Visit Rethinking the Dollar throughout the day, your place for news on metals, gold, crypto, you name it. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll get a chance to see the daily videos, the recommended videos, and more importantly, the 5 reasons to unplug from the monetary matrix, with the first one being the awakening period. Step number 1, test your dollar IQ. 10 simple questions, average is 60%. Follow up with the alternative perspective with the monetary reports. Consider becoming a supporter of the Rethinking the Dollar platform via Patreon. Get a chance to hang out off air as well as additional information that can't be discussed on YouTube. Any support is helpful. With the crackdown on alternative media, the best thing to do is connect off air. Scroll down to the very bottom. You can find Rethinking the Dollar on Telegram, audio, Facebook, Twitter, Parler, you name it. The most important ones will be the email list where you can get notified weekly, the Discord page, and make sure you connect on Telegram. And last, don't forget to visit the RTD store where you can get merchandise as well as additional information and resources. And most importantly, scroll down to the bottom and get your weight up with all the limited edition rounds only available on the RTD store.